We don't wake up with dreams by accident. No one dreams of something that's truly meaningless to them. Those visions we carry, sometimes quietly, sometimes boldly, are not random. They're reflections of something deeper inside us. They point toward the kind of person we long to become, the contribution we want to make, the life we're meant to live. That's why dreams matter. Not because they're fancy ideas, but because they give us direction when everything else feels uncertain. Most people try to start with what they want to do or how they'll do it. But that approach often leads to burnout, confusion, or endless course corrections. Because without a reason to move, we eventually stop. Cool. And how are only powerful when they're anchored in a clear why? Your dreams are the why. They are the emotional engine behind your decisions. They're not just goals. They're signals showing you where your values and your vision meet. When we lose touch with our dreams, we often find ourselves stuck in the cycles of obligation, doing things just because they're expected, comfortable, or safe. But doing what's expected doesn't mean you're doing what's meaningful. Dreams disrupt that pattern. They invite us to imagine more, to step out of survival mode, and into a space where we ask, what if this could happen? That question alone can change the trajectory of a life. Children understand this intuitively. They don't need to justify why they want to be astronauts, or artists, or explorers. They simply feel drawn to it. That's what makes dreams powerful. They don't always make logical sense, but they make emotional sense. And somewhere along the way, we begin to filter those dreams through the lens of practicality. And in doing so, we lose our compass. We stop asking what lights us up. We start asking what keeps us safe. You don't need to justify your dreams to anyone, but you do need to stay connected to them. That connection is what gives your work meaning, your time direction, and your choices clarity. A dream isn't a distraction from life. It's a deeper truth about who you are. It reveals your values, your hopes, your identity in motion. It tells you not just what's possible, but what feels right for you. When you're clear on your dream, you stop chasing what others say is important. You start aligning. With what truly matters to you. That clarity creates a ripple effect. Your decisions become more intentional. Your time becomes more valuable. Your relationships become more authentic. You stop performing and start becoming. That shift doesn't just make you more productive, it makes you more fulfilled. People often say, I don't know what my dream is, but the truth is, most of us do. We're just afraid to admit it, because admitting it means taking responsibility for it. And that responsibility is scary. It requires change, but avoiding it only leads to regret. Listening to your dream is the first courageous step toward living in alignment with who you really are. Your dream doesn't have to be world-changing to be worth pursuing. It just has to be yours. When it is, you'll feel it. It will give you energy. It will wake you up in the morning, even when things are hard. It will push you to grow into someone you haven't met yet, but somehow already recognize deep down. That's the power of starting with why. It's not about having all the answers. It's about remembering the question that started it all. Why does this matter to me? Every day we're given a limited amount of energy. Mental, emotional, physical. Like money, we choose where to spend it. Unlike money, we can't store it in a bank or earn it back once the day ends. It's finite. It's finite. And most people don't realize how much of it is being spent on things that give them nothing in return. Scrolling endlessly, holding on to resentment, saying yes to what they don't believe in. It's like making daily withdrawals from a bank account that never grows. Energy isn't just what powers your body. It's what powers your attention, your creativity, your relationships. When you walk into a room, you can feel it. Some people lift your energy, others drain it. Some tasks expand your spirit, others shrink it. We've been taught to manage time, but rarely are we taught to manage energy. Yet it's your energy, not your time, that determines the quality of what you create, how you connect, and what you become. Look at the people around you. Some seem to get so much done, stay grounded, and remain optimistic. Not because they have more hours in the day, but because they've learned to invest their energy in the right places. They don't waste it proving themselves to people who aren't listening. They don't keep chasing approval they'll never get. They protect their energy like it's sacred, because it is. There's a difference between being busy and being in flow. Busy burns energy fast, running in circles, multitasking, staying reactive. Flow multiplies energy. When you're focused, connected to something meaningful, doing the work that fits your values, you felt it before. Hours pass, and instead of feeling drained, you feel alive. That's not magic. That's alignment. And alignment is the most efficient energy source we have. If energy is a currency, then focus is your wallet. Where you place your focus, energy follows. Every time you give your focus to something pointless or toxic, you're making an unconscious investment. And those investments add up. Eventually, you look at your life and wonder why you're exhausted. Not just tired, but emotionally bankrupt. The answer isn't always to rest. Sometimes it's to redirect. Think about the people, habits, and environments in your life. Which ones grow you? Which ones cost you more than they give? Cool. If something consistently leaves you feeling smaller, it's not asking for more effort. It's asking for less permission. You don't owe your energy to everything that demands it. You owe it to what nourishes your dream, your peace, and your growth. We often confuse endurance with strength. Thinking the ability to tolerate energy-draining situations is admirable. But strength isn't just about how long you can last in the wrong space. It's about choosing to walk away when your energy deserves better. It takes courage to spend your energy wisely. It means saying a no when it's easier to go along. It means prioritizing your purpose over your patterns. The goal isn't to protect your energy so fiercely that you never give it away. The goal is to give it freely to the right things, to relationships that inspire you, to work that challenges you in the best way, to rest that restores, not numbs, to learning that excites rather than impresses. When you spend your energy where it grows you, you don't just change how you feel, you change who you're becoming. We live in a culture that glorifies hustle, work harder, sleep less, grind through. The problem is, hustle without clarity becomes noise, motion without direction. You can run full speed in the wrong direction and still end up nowhere that matters. Activity doesn't equal progress. And without clarity, all that energy eventually becomes exhaustion. Clarity is not just knowing what you want, it's knowing why you want it. But that why acts like a filter. It helps you separate distraction from direction. When you're clear, you stop reacting to everything urgent and start responding to what's important. You stop chasing opportunities just because they're available and start choosing them because they're aligned. Hustle makes you feel like you're doing something valuable. But clarity ensures that what you're doing is valuable. One builds ego, the other builds purpose. Hustle is fueled by fear of falling behind, fear of being irrelevant. Clarity is fueled by vision, the kind that keeps you steady even when the path gets uncertain. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters deeply and deliberately. When people aren't clear, they compensate with speed. They try to outrun doubt with busy schedules, overloaded calendars, and a sense of urgency that rarely leads to real fulfillment. But when you're clear, even slow steps feel meaningful. You don't panic when things take time. You trust the process because you know where you're headed and why it's worth going there. Clarity also brings peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from everything being easy, but the kind that comes from knowing you're not lost. When you're chasing everyone else's definition of success, hustle becomes a way to mask confusion. But when you're clear, success feels quieter, more internal than external. It's no longer about proving, it's about becoming. You can't outwork misalignment. You can't hustle your way out of something that was never right for you in the first place. That's why people burn out, even when they're doing things that look impressive from the outside. Because deep down, they're not driven by clarity. They're driven by comparison, obligation, or fear of standing still. Clarity takes courage. It requires slowing down long enough to ask hard questions. What do I really want? What am I pretending not to know? To know. What am I chasing that doesn't actually belong to me? Hustle distracts from those questions, but clarity demands them. Because once you answer them honestly, your life begins to reshape itself around what truly matters. When you're clear, you're dangerous in the best way. Focused, grounded, and unwilling to waste your energy on anything that doesn't align. The world doesn't need more people moving fast. It needs more people moving with intention. Clarity may not be loud, but it's powerful. It doesn't push. It pulls. It doesn't force. It guides. We're often told to stay motivated, as if motivation is the magic fuel that gets everything moving. But motivation is emotional. It rises and falls with our moods, our environment, even the weather. If you rely on motivation to act, you'll wait more than you'll move. You'll start projects that never finish, set goals that never take root, and feel constantly disappointed in your lack of consistency. The problem isn't you, it's the strategy. Motivation is a spark. Momentum is a fire. Momentum is a fire. You don't need to feel inspired to get started. You need to start to feel inspired. One action leads to the next. One small win gives birth to another. That's momentum. That's momentum. It's not loud or glamorous at first. It's often quiet, even boring. But it builds something motivation alone never could. Trust in yourself. Momentum doesn't need the perfect mood or the perfect plan. It just needs a beginning. A tiny one. One honest email. One walk instead of scrolling. One conversation you've been avoiding. These small moves don't seem impressive, but they're powerful because they shift your identity. You stop waiting to become the kind of person who follows through. You become that person by doing. Motivation says, I'll feel ready first. Momentum says, just take the next step. The people you admire, the ones who seem to have discipline, aren't always more motivated than you. They've just learned how to move even when they don't feel like it. And the act of moving creates the feeling they were looking for. Action generates emotion, not the other way around. Momentum thrives on rhythm, not perfection. It forgives your off days, your bad moods, your delays, as long as you keep showing up. One day doesn't define progress. Patterns do. Momentum is built by what you return to, not what you do once. It's the return, again and again. That becomes your strength. You don't need a breakthrough. You need a routine. Too many people wait for motivation like it's a signal from the universe that it's time to begin. But the truth is, momentum doesn't ask for permission. It asks for a start, even a messy one. You can start confused, tired, uncertain, and still create movement. And movement is what gives birth to clarity, to energy, to purpose. Sitting still won't get you there. Starting will. There's a myth that motivation leads to action. But in real life, it's often action that leads to motivation. Think of a time you didn't feel like doing something. Going to the gym, making that call, starting that project. But once you began, everything shifted. That shift didn't come from inspiration. It came from movement. That's the power of momentum. It changes how you feel because you acted not before. Waiting for motivation is passive. Creating momentum is active. One is based on hope. The other is built on ownership. You may not be able to control when motivation hits, but you can control whether or not you take that first small step. And sometimes that one step is the very thing that changes the course of everything that follows. Distraction isn't just about noise. It's about absence. It's about absence. When you're distracted, you're not fully present in your own life. You're pulled in 1,000 directions, giving your attention to things that don't feed your purpose or reflect your values. And the scary part is, it happens so gradually you don't even notice. One notification, one comparison, one comparison. One more scroll, until suddenly you're busy, but you're not becoming. We don't live in a world that rewards stillness. Everything is designed to grab your attention, not to help you grow, but to keep you engaged. Every app, every headline, every swipe is a bid for your focus. And if you don't decide what your attention is for, someone else will. Distraction is not an accident. It's a business model. And the cost isn't just time. It's your clarity, your creativity, your ability to focus on what actually matters. Intention is the antidote. It's not about being perfectly focused all the time. It's about choosing what deserves your energy and why. It's about asking before reacting, pausing before committing, and aligning your actions with your priorities. It means living on purpose instead of on autopilot. And it starts by creating space, mentally, physically, emotionally, for your real thoughts to surface. You don't break free from distraction by trying harder. You do it by becoming clearer. You do it by becoming clearer. When your life is filled with noise, clarity feels unfamiliar. That's why most people avoid it. Silence forces you to confront what you've been avoiding. The things you know you want but haven't committed to. The things you tolerate but should. The goals that require sacrifice. Distraction keeps that confrontation at bay. Most people aren't overwhelmed because they have too much to do. They're overwhelmed because they're doing too many things that don't matter. Intention simplifies. It removes. It refines. It teaches you to protect your bandwidth, not because you're fragile, but because your focus is powerful. And powerful things need to be guarded, not given away to the first thing that shouts loud enough. Intention also requires honesty. What are you giving your time to that feels urgent, but isn't meaningful? What do you keep saying yes to just to avoid discomfort? Lied, discomfort. What habits are running your day without your permission? These aren't easy questions, but they're necessary ones. Because distraction isn't just a behavior, it's a lifestyle. And breaking it requires disrupting the patterns that protect it. It's not about productivity. It's not about productivity. It's about alignment. You can be productive and still be completely disconnected from your purpose. Distraction can wear the costume of busy. Intention asks deeper questions. Is this task helping me grow? Does it connect to who I want to become? Is this conversation, this content, this commitment worthy of my limited presence? If not, why is it still here? When you shift from distraction to intention, everything slows down. But not in a way that dulls your life, in a way that sharpens it. You notice more. You choose more. You choose more. You stop trying to keep up with everything and start focusing on the few things that truly matter. You stop drifting. You begin to direct. The people you surround yourself with are not neutral. They either amplify your energy or quietly drain it. They either remind you of who you are becoming or reinforce who you were. Most of us underestimate how much influence our environment has on our ambition, our courage, even our self-worth. You may have a clear dream, strong discipline, and good habits. But if your circle doesn't support your growth, your spark dims over time. It's not about whether people are a good or a bad. It's about alignment. You can love someone deeply and still recognize that their mindset doesn't match the life you're building. You can respect someone's past and still realize they don't belong in your future. We all want connection, but connection that compromises your direction becomes a quiet form of self-abandonment. Your circle doesn't just reflect your present, it shapes your future. Pay attention to what happens to your energy after a conversation. Do you leave feeling clearer or more confused? You leave feeling clearer or more confused? Encouraged or dismissed? Seen or subtly diminished? The answers to those questions tell you more about your circle than words ever will. You don't need people who agree with you on everything. You need people who believe in you, especially in the moments when you start to doubt yourself. Your spark, that internal drive, that creative fire, that quiet determination is fragile when first forming. In early stages, it needs oxygen, not friction. Ideas need space to breathe. Dreams need room to stretch. If you share your vision with someone who only sees limitations, their doubt doesn't just sit on the surface. It seeps into your momentum. And over time, you begin to shrink your dream just to fit their comfort zone. A healthy circle challenges you, but never belittles you. It holds you accountable, but never shames you. It calls you out when you're off track, but always calls you up, not down. Growth is uncomfortable, but that discomfort is different from the emotional weight of being surrounded by people who resent your progress, ignore your potential, or need you to stay small so they feel secure. We all mirror the energy around us. If your circle normalizes excuses, bitterness, and blame, it becomes harder to hold on to your own optimism. If your circle is driven, honest, generous, and focused, even quietly, that energy becomes contagious. The fastest way to change your direction is to upgrade the environment you're in. And often that means having difficult but necessary conversations about boundaries and access. Sometimes the shift starts with you. When you raise your standards, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, some people will naturally fall away. Others will rise with you. Don't panic when that happens. It's not rejection, it's realignment. The more you honor your path, the more you attract those who resonate with it. But it only works if you're honest about what you truly value. Your spark is too important to be left exposed to constant friction. It deserves protection, not permission. It deserves people who fan the flame, not question its right to exist. The people closest to you are not just part of your life. They're part of your internal dialogue. Choose them like your future depends on it. Failure has a reputation problem. We've been taught to fear it, avoid it, even feel ashamed by it. But failure isn't a verdict, it's a signal. It's your life giving you information. Not about your worth, but about your process. Not about your potential, but about what needs refining. When you treat failure like a full stop, you miss the lesson it came to teach. But when you treat it like feedback, you grow smarter, faster, and stronger, faster and stronger. Most people don't quit because they're weak. They quit because they misinterpret what failure means. They assume it means they're not cut out for it, that they were wrong to try, or that success belongs to someone else. But failure doesn't say you don't have what it takes. It says that approach didn't work. This is now ejection. It's not rejection. It's redirection. And the sooner you can listen without ego, the quicker you'll adapt with clarity. Children understand this better than adults. A child learning to walk falls down constantly, but doesn't interpret those falls as failure. They're part of the process. Somewhere along the way, we unlearn that mindset. We start attaching our identity to the outcome. When something doesn't work, we don't say, that didn't work. We say, I didn't work. And that's where we get stuck. Not in the failure, but in the meaning we assign to it. Failure often feels loud, especially when you're trying something new. It brings self-doubt, embarrassment, discomfort. But discomfort is not danger. It's the cost of growth. The people who achieve extraordinary things aren't immune to failure. They just refuse to treat it as final. They mine it for insight. They take notes while others walk away. They don't ask, did I fail? They ask, we often think of legacy as something we leave behind. A distant conclusion, a final chapter written long after we're gone. But legacy isn't later. Legacy is now. It's built in your habits, your choices, your words. It's formed in the way you show up, not just in big moments, but in ordinary ones. You don't create legacy when life slows down. You create it in how you live when no one's watching. The truth is, every day you're writing your story. Not someday. Not when things settle. Not when things settle. Not when you're finally ready. What you tolerate, what you fight for, what you prioritize, it all communicates something about what matters to you. And if you're not intentional, you may look back one day and realize your life told a story you never meant to write. Living like today matters doesn't mean cramming your schedule full or forcing urgency into everything. It means showing up with presence. It means asking better questions. What would it look like to give my best to this conversation? Legacy lives in the moment you choose to care. Not out of pressure, but from alignment with what you value. It's easy to assume legacy belongs to people with platforms or power. But legacy isn't about size, it's about sincerity. Some of the most lasting impact happens in quiet interactions. The way you listen to someone who's hurting, the patience you give when you could rush, the encouragement you offer when you have nothing to gain. Those moments don't always get applause, but they leave fingerprints on someone else's life. What you repeat becomes who you are, and who you are shapes how others experience you. If you constantly wait for a more convenient time to live with intention, that time may never come. May never come. Life won't pause so you can catch up. It moves. And every day you're either aligning more closely with your values or drifting further from them. There's no neutral ground. You're building something, even in your delay. Legacy also comes from what you stop doing. Breaking cycles, setting boundaries, unlearning patterns that never served you. It's not always about adding more to your life. Sometimes it's about removing what no longer reflects who you want to become. The courage to release what's familiar is part of what makes space for a future that's meaningful. And that courage is a legacy in itself. We tend to chase milestones, promotions, achievements, titles, thinking they'll validate our existence. But people don't remember titles. They remember how you made them feel. They remember if you were present, if you cared, if you lived with conviction. That impact echoes. It outlives trends. It becomes the quiet proof that your time here mattered. Not because you were perfect, but because you were intentional. Legacy isn't a finish line you cross. It's a posture you live from. It's the willingness to make this moment count, to treat today as part of something bigger, even if no one sees it yet. Because someone will feel it. Someone always does. Always does.